13 celebrities were shockingly killed by animals. Familiar names met their final moments in terrifying ways, turning their deaths into eerie mysteries that left the world in stunned silence. In the next few minutes, you will uncover the haunting stories behind each tragic end. Number 1. Steve Irwin. On the 4th of September, 2006, while filming the documentary Ocean's Deadliest off the coast of Queensland, he was fatally struck by a stingray. The barb pierced his chest and punctured his heart. Crew members tried desperately to save him, but he died within minutes. The footage, never released to the public, captured the shocking moment when one of the most fearless men in television lost his life to a creature rarely seen as a killer. For more than a decade, Irwin had been a global symbol of wildlife adventure. His series, The Crocodile Hunter, reached audiences in over 100 countries, turning conservation into thrilling television. His boundless energy, unmistakable khaki outfit, and signature "crikey" made him a household name. Viewers watched him wrestle crocodiles, capture venomous snakes, and dive alongside sharks, each encounter a mix of danger and education that enthralled children and adults alike. Born in 1,962 inches, Victoria, Australia, he grew up surrounded by reptiles at his family's wildlife park. That early exposure forged his lifelong bond with the natural world. Together with his wife Terry, he expanded the Australia Zoo into a world-class sanctuary, blending entertainment with environmental advocacy. His charisma and fearless spirit attracted not just television audiences, but also global attention to endangered species and the urgent need for conservation. His sudden death at 44 stunned fans and colleagues around the globe. Tributes poured in from celebrities, conservationists, and political leaders, many highlighting his ability to inspire a generation to care about animals often seen as terrifying. The loss was especially profound for his young family, who vowed to carry on his mission. Today, his daughter Bindi and son Robert continue to champion the causes their father once led, ensuring his legacy remains alive. The Australia Zoo stands as both a monument to his vision and a living reminder of the risks he accepted daily in his pursuit to connect humanity with the wild. Steve Irwin's final moments, tragic and unexpected, became part of the very narrative he dedicated his life to telling. Nature's power is as beautiful as it is unpredictable. Number 2. John Pickard. On the 4th of August, 1993, at the age of 80, he was fatally attacked by a bull on his family farm in Tennessee. The animal charged with sudden force, knocked him to the ground, and trampled him before help could arrive. By the time neighbors reached him, the veteran actor was gone. His final moments claimed not by the dangers of Hollywood sets, but by the raw strength of a farm animal he had lived alongside for years. Pickard had been a familiar face in American living rooms during the golden age of television westerns. Born in 1913, he built a career that spanned decades, often cast as the rugged soldier, cowboy, or sheriff whose presence anchored the story. His most memorable role came as Captain Shank Adams in Boots and Saddles, 1957-1958, where his commanding voice and firm gaze embodied the archetype of a frontier leader. Audiences trusted him because he looked and sounded like the real thing. Beyond that series, he appeared in dozens of films and television shows, including Gunsmoke, Bonanza, and The Rifleman. His versatility kept him working steadily at a time when westerns defined much of Hollywood's landscape. He never achieved the headline fame of a John Wayne or James Arness, but his reliability and grit made him one of those actors everyone recognized, even if they could not immediately recall his name. His passing shocked both colleagues and fans, who remembered him as more than a supporting player. Friends described him as grounded, modest, and deeply committed to his craft. For many who grew up watching the westerns of the 1,950 Seconds and 1,960 Seconds, hearing that one of their television heroes had died so suddenly felt like the end of an era. The irony of his death lingered. After a career spent portraying men who stared down danger with calm resolve, he was taken by an accident on quiet farmland, far from the Hollywood spotlight. Do you remember watching John Pickard ride across the screen in those classic westerns? Share your memories below, because every recollection keeps alive the legacy of a man whose steady presence defined a generation of television storytelling. Number 3. Catherine Chappell. On the 1st of June, 2015, While on safari at the Lion Park near Johannesburg, she was fatally mauled by a lioness. Sitting in the passenger seat of a vehicle, she rolled down the window to take photographs. Within seconds, the predator lunged through the opening, clamped onto her neck, and dragged her violently as the guide struck in vain to save her. The attack ended almost instantly, her life cut short in a place she had traveled to out of passion for wildlife. Born in 1985, Chappelle carved out a promising career in Hollywood as a visual effects editor. She was part of the creative team behind Game of Thrones, contributing to some of the series' most visually striking sequences. Her work in visual storytelling extended beyond television into feature films and commercials, making her one of the rising young talents in the industry. Colleagues admired her meticulous eye for detail and her ability to translate imagination into spectacle. Away from the editing suite, she carried a deep love for nature. Friends described her as someone who balanced the fast pace of Hollywood with a genuine appreciation for the outdoors. That love inspired her to travel widely, supporting conservation projects and immersing herself in environments far removed from sound stages and computer screens. The trip to South Africa was intended as both a holiday and a chance to experience firsthand the animals she so often helped bring to life on screen. News of her death resonated far beyond the entertainment press. Headlines across the world underscored the cruel irony. A woman who dedicated her professional life to creating illusions of fantastical beasts had been killed by one of the real giants of nature. Tributes poured in from former colleagues, friends, and fans of the shows she had helped shape. Her story became a sobering reminder that even in settings designed for safety, the wild cannot be fully controlled. Catherine Chappelle's death at the age of 29 marked not only the loss of a talented artist, but also the abrupt end of a life defined by creativity and curiosity. In both Hollywood and the wilderness, her legacy remains tied to the fragile line between wonder and danger. Number 4. Timothy Treadwell. On the 5th of October, 2003, in Katmai National Park, Alaska, he was killed by a grizzly bear after spending 13 summers living among them. Rangers later found his remains scattered near the campsite, his wristwatch still strapped to a severed arm. His girlfriend, Amy Huguenard, was also killed in the attack, their final hours captured on audio that investigators chose never to release to the public. The bear responsible was shot by park rangers while guarding the site. Born in 1,957 inches Long Island, New York, Treadwell grew up far from the wilderness he later embraced. His fascination with animals began early, but his life took many turns before he discovered his calling. After moving west, he battled addiction and uncertainty, eventually reinventing himself as a self-styled protector of grizzlies. He founded the organization Grizzly People, lectured at schools, and appeared on talk shows, building a reputation as both passionate and controversial. His time in Alaska was documented extensively through video diaries, showing him interacting closely with massive bears, often at distances that alarmed experts. To supporters, his work humanized predators, showing their intelligence, complexity, and vulnerability. To critics, his methods were reckless, blurring the line between admiration and intrusion. He believed that his presence in the wild offered protection for the animals he loved, yet his unorthodox style also made him a subject of debate within the conservation community. Filmmaker Werner Herzog later chronicled his life and death in the documentary Grizzly Man, which presented a complex portrait of obsession, devotion, and tragedy. The film revealed both his charisma and the troubling extremes of his philosophy, leaving audiences divided on whether he was a visionary or a man blinded by his ideals. The deaths of Treadwell and Huguenard underscored the dangers of ignoring boundaries in the natural world. While he sought to prove that grizzlies were misunderstood and not inherently hostile to humans, the outcome of his final expedition became an unforgettable reminder of the risks he took. Timothy Treadwell's life ended in the environment he cherished most, surrounded by the creatures he devoted everything to defending. Number 5. Diane Whipple. On the 26th of January, 2001, she was attacked in the hallway of her San Francisco apartment building by a Presa Canario dog named Bane. The animal, weighing nearly 130 pounds, lunged at her with overwhelming force. Neighbors heard her screams echoing through the walls, but by the time help arrived, she had sustained more than 70 bite wounds. The coroner confirmed that the injuries were catastrophic, with her throat punctured and only the top of her head and soles of her feet left untouched. Born in 1967 inches, Connecticut, Whipple rose to prominence as one of the most talented lacrosse players in the United States. She earned recognition not only for her speed and agility, but also for her fierce leadership on the field. At Penn State University, she became an All-American midfielder, remembered for her ability to dominate games with sharp instincts and relentless drive. After graduation, she turned her passion into mentorship, coaching young athletes and advocating for women in sports. Her tragic death placed national attention on the dangers of irresponsible animal ownership. The Presa Canario breed, originally bred for guarding and fighting, became the focus of heated debate. The case took a sensational turn when the owners of the dogs, former attorney Marjorie Knoller and her husband Robert Noel, were prosecuted. Knoller was ultimately convicted of second-degree murder, an almost unprecedented ruling in a dog-mauling case. The trial and aftermath transformed Whipple's story into both a legal milestone and a public reckoning. Her name was invoked in discussions about dangerous breeds, urban safety, and accountability. For athletes and students who had admired her career, the news was devastating. She had represented not just personal excellence, but also the promise of a future dedicated to inspiring others. The sudden end of Diane Whipple's life at 33 became one of the most shocking tragedies involving an athlete in American memory. Her legacy endured in the athletes she coached and the conversations her case sparked across the nation, ensuring that her story was not forgotten even as the years passed. Number 6. Taylor Mitchell. On the 28th of October, 2009, while hiking alone in Cape Breton Highlands National Park in Nova Scotia, she was attacked by coyotes. The animals struck swiftly on a quiet trail, leaving her with catastrophic injuries. Park rangers rushed to the scene after other hikers reported screams, but the wounds were too severe. She was airlifted to a hospital in Halifax, where she was pronounced dead later that day at just 19 years old. Born in 1990 inches, Toronto, Mitchell was one of Canada's most promising young folk singers. Her music, marked by soulful lyrics and an intimate voice, quickly caught the attention of critics and audiences. Her debut album, For Your Consideration, released in 2009, showcased a talent that felt raw yet polished, filled with a kind of sincerity that hinted at a long career ahead. She toured across Canada, performing at small venues and festivals, steadily building a reputation as an artist to watch. Her style drew comparisons to the greats of the folk and acoustic tradition, blending heartfelt storytelling with a modern sensibility. Reviewers praised her ability to connect with audiences, noting the maturity of her lyrics despite her young age. Friends and fellow musicians spoke of her determination, humility, and boundless potential, qualities that set her apart in an industry often defined by fleeting fame. The attack that claimed her life shocked wildlife experts. Coyote attacks on adult humans were almost unheard of in North America, and Mitchell's death became the first confirmed case of its kind. The incident sparked international headlines and prompted new studies into the behavior of coyotes, especially in regions where human encroachment had altered their natural patterns. For fans, the tragedy was not just the loss of a rising star, but the silencing of a voice that had only begun to make itself heard. Her songs, filled with both vulnerability and strength, stood as haunting reminders of what might have been. Taylor Mitchell's brief but bright career remains frozen in time, her name etched into music history as an artist taken far too soon by forces no one could have predicted. Number 7. Jackie Boxberger. In August 2001, while on safari with his family in Kenya, he was fatally attacked by an elephant. The massive animal, seemingly calm at first, turned suddenly aggressive. With startling speed, it used its trunk to seize him, hurled him violently against a tree, and then trampled him. Witnesses fled in terror as the scene unfolded, powerless to intervene. He died instantly, leaving his family and companions in shock at the brutal unpredictability of the wilderness. Born in 1949 inches, France, Boxberger was one of the country's most celebrated long-distance runners. He represented France in 4 Olympic Games: 1,968, 1,972, 1,976, and 1,984, competing with unwavering dedication. His career was highlighted by victories at the European Athletics Indoor Championships, where he claimed the 1,500-meter title in 1972, and by his triumphs in the Paris Marathon, which he won twice. In 1983, and 1985. His endurance, discipline, and consistency earned him admiration across Europe, making him a figure of resilience and national pride. Even after his peak competitive years, Boxberger remained deeply involved in athletics. He continued to participate in races, mentor younger athletes, and represent the ideals of determination and perseverance. His name was etched into the annals of French sports not only for his victories, but also for his example of longevity in competition. For decades, he symbolized the drive to push human limits. The circumstances of his death contrasted sharply with his reputation for strength and control. For a man who had mastered the toughest races and the grueling demands of international athletics, to be struck down in such a sudden and overpowering way was almost incomprehensible. Reports of the incident spread quickly, igniting both grief and disbelief within the sports community. Jackie Boxberger's passing at the age of 52 was mourned as the loss of a champion who had carried his nation's colors with distinction. His legacy endures in the record books and in the memories of those who witnessed his races. The tragedy in Kenya remains a stark reminder of how fragile life can be, even for those who had once seemed invincible in the arena of sport. Number 8. Surinder Singh Bajwa. On the 20th of October, 2007, at his residence in Delhi, he was attacked by a troop of monkeys. The animals swarmed the property, forcing him toward a first-floor balcony in a desperate attempt to escape. In the chaos, he lost his footing, plunged to the ground below, and sustained severe head injuries. Despite urgent medical attention, he died the following day. His career and life brought to a shocking end by an accident few could have imagined. Born in 1950, Bajwa had earned respect in India's political landscape through steady leadership and a reputation for accessibility. Earlier that year, he had been appointed Deputy Mayor of Delhi, a position that carried both visibility and responsibility. Colleagues described him as calm, approachable, and committed to improving conditions for citizens of the capital. His rise symbolized the aspirations of a new generation of municipal leaders determined to address urban challenges with fresh energy. The bizarre nature of his death stunned not only his colleagues, but also the wider public. Delhi was no stranger to encounters with aggressive monkeys, but fatalities were rare and almost unheard of at the level of public office. Newspapers carried dramatic headlines, and his passing quickly became an indelible moment in the city's modern history. The image of a deputy mayor lost not to political rivalry or scandal, but to a swarm of animals underscored the strange unpredictability of urban life colliding with nature. His funeral drew mourners from across the political spectrum. Tributes emphasized both his service and the sheer tragedy of his final moments. In official statements, leaders acknowledged his dedication to civic improvement and expressed sorrow at the abrupt end of his work. For residents, his death became a haunting reminder that even in a bustling metropolis, danger could emerge from the most unexpected quarters. Do you remember hearing about the shocking way Surinder Singh Bajwa's life ended? Share your thoughts, because stories like his blur the line between everyday safety and the unpredictable force of nature intruding on human lives. Number 9. Rosa King. On May 29, 2017, during her morning routine at Hamilton Zoo in Cambridgeshire, England, she was fatally mauled by a Malayan tiger. The animal entered the area where she was working, and within moments the attack turned deadly. Colleagues and emergency responders rushed to the scene, but the injuries she sustained were irreversible. News of her death spread rapidly, casting a shadow over the zoo and raising questions about safety protocols in facilities that house dangerous animals. Born in 1983, King had devoted her life to the care of wildlife, particularly big cats. She was described by those who worked alongside her as warm, enthusiastic, and deeply committed to her animals. Visitors to the zoo often remarked on her ability to connect with guests, sharing knowledge about tigers with a mix of passion and authority. Her devotion made her a central figure at Hamilton Zoo, where she was considered not just an employee but the very heart of the institution. The tragedy struck especially hard because of the close bond she had formed with the animals under her care. She had dedicated years to raising awareness about the importance of conservation and the challenges faced by endangered species. Her work was not confined to daily routines, but extended to educational programs that inspired thousands of visitors, particularly children, to care about the future of wildlife. Her sudden death shocked colleagues across the global zoo community. Tributes came from professionals and organizations worldwide, emphasizing her dedication and the risks inherent in her profession. In Britain, The story dominated headlines, not only for the horrific nature of the attack, but also for the loss of a woman who had built her career on respect and love for the very creatures that ultimately took her life. Rosa King's legacy lives on in the conversations her death sparked about the delicate balance between human dedication and animal instinct. At 33, she had already left a lasting mark on conservation education, remembered by many as a woman whose passion and energy lit up every corner of the zoo she called home. Number 10. Alexis Martinez. On the 24th of December 2009, during a training session at Loro Parque in Tenerife, Spain, he was fatally attacked by an orca named Quito. The powerful animal rammed him with such force that his ribs were broken and vital organs ruptured. Emergency crews arrived quickly, but he was pronounced dead before he could be moved from the pool. The attack unfolded in a facility known for pala shows and entertainment. Yet behind the scenes, the reality was far more dangerous. Born in 1980, Martinez was considered one of the most skilled marine mammal trainers in Europe. His calm demeanor and sharp instincts had earned him respect among his colleagues and admiration from audiences who saw him work with orcas. He viewed the animals not just as performers but as intelligent beings with whom he had built bonds through years of discipline and mutual trust. To him, entering the water was not only part of the job, but part of his passion. The orca involved, Quito, had a documented history of erratic behavior. Captured young and transferred between marine parks, the animal had spent most of its life in captivity. Experts later argued that the stress of confinement and the unnatural routines imposed on these massive predators contributed to unpredictable outbursts. The incident fueled debates about the ethics of keeping orcas for entertainment, with Martinez's death cited as evidence of the risks trainers face and the costs borne by the animals themselves. His colleagues described him as devoted, professional, and deeply caring toward the creatures under his supervision. The timing of the tragedy, on Christmas Eve, made it even more devastating for his family and the community at Loro Parque. News outlets across Europe covered the story extensively, highlighting both the shock of the event and the broader questions it raised about the use of wild animals in marine entertainment. At just 29 years old, Alexis Martinez's life ended in a way that underscored the very unpredictability of the animals he loved. His story remains a cautionary tale in the history of marine parks, remembered both for the talent he brought to his work and for the tragic reminder that nature's power cannot be subdued by spectacle. Number 11. Ellen Blight. In January 1850, during a performance in Wombwell's Travelling Menagerie in Staffordshire, England, she was killed by a Bengal tiger before a packed audience. Known as the Lion Queen, she entered the cage with practiced confidence, cracking her whip and signaling to the animals as she had countless times before. The crowd gasped in horror when the tiger lunged, its jaws clamping down on her throat. Trainers rushed in with weapons, but the wounds proved instantly fatal. She collapsed on the sawdust floor as panic erupted inside the tent. Born in 1833, Blight had risen to fame as one of the youngest and most daring female animal tamers of her time. By her teenage years, she was already a sensation, captivating audiences with her fearlessness and poise among lions and tigers. The Victorian press adored her, dubbing her the Lion Queen, and her appearances became headline attractions across England. She represented both the thrill of the circus and the fascination of an era that pushed boundaries of entertainment through risk and spectacle. Her death, at just 17 years old, sent shockwaves through Britain. Newspapers turned her story into a national drama, splashing lurid illustrations of the attack and fueling public debate. Some questioned whether women should ever have been placed in such perilous roles, while others pointed to the dangers of forcing wild animals into human-controlled environments. The tragedy was not merely a sensational story, but a reflection of the cultural tensions of the time. Ellen Blight's end became one of the most infamous incidents in the history of 19th century entertainment. Her name was invoked whenever discussions arose about the morality of circuses, animal welfare, and the risks faced by performers. Though her career was brief, she had already secured a place in public memory as a fearless showwoman whose courage inspired awe until the very moment it cost her life. The image of the young Lion Queen struck down in front of a horrified audience became an enduring reminder of the volatility of taming the wild. Her story remains etched into the history of both circus performance and the unrelenting danger of working with predators on stage. Number 12. Kenton Joel Carnegie. On the 8th of November, 2005, while conducting fieldwork near Point's North Landing in Saskatchewan, Canada, he was attacked and killed by wild animals. His body was discovered in the snow, clothing torn, and blood staining the ground around him. Tracks in the area pointed to wolves, though some experts argued a bear could have been responsible. The remains showed he had been mauled beyond saving, his final walk through the forest ending in violence. Born in 1983, Carnegie was a 22-year-old geology student from the University of Waterloo. He had joined a work placement program in northern Saskatchewan, where remote camps offered both scientific opportunity and harsh isolation. Known among his peers as adventurous and determined, he relished the challenges of field research. He carried a fascination for the wilderness that made him confident in exploring the area alone, despite warnings from locals that predators were lingering nearby. His death became one of the most debated wildlife cases in North America. Initial examinations suggested wolves were the culprits, making it one of the first documented fatal wolf attacks on the continent. Some specialists, however, insisted that a hungry bear might have been involved, leaving the official conclusion uncertain. Regardless of the exact predator, the attack highlighted how fragile the boundary between human safety and natural instinct can be. The tragedy gained wide media attention, stirring both fear and fascination. Wildlife biologists studied the case extensively, analyzing paw prints, scat, and bite patterns in an effort to determine responsibility. The ambiguity surrounding the incident only deepened its impact, sparking debates about human encroachment on wilderness areas and the shifting behavior of predators as habitats change. Carnegie's family and classmates mourned not only the loss of a promising scientist, but also the abruptness of his fate. At an age when his life and career had only begun to take shape, he was claimed by forces he had admired and studied. His story remains a chilling testament to the unpredictability of life in remote landscapes, where knowledge and caution sometimes prove powerless against the instincts of the wild. Number 13. Alexei Melnikov. In February 2020, at a zoo in Sevastopol, Ukraine, he was killed by a rare white Bengal tiger. Believing the animal had been secured in a holding cage, he entered the enclosure to begin routine work. The tiger was not restrained. It lunged with sudden speed, dragging him to the ground and inflicting fatal wounds before colleagues could intervene. By the time help arrived, his body lay torn inside the pen, surrounded by claw marks and blood. Born in 1978, Melnikov had devoted much of his adult life to zookeeping. He was regarded as experienced, calm, and capable of handling predators that required both precision and respect. For years, he worked with lions, tigers, and other big cats, honing skills that allowed him to anticipate their moods and avoid unnecessary risk. Co-workers described him as steady, professional, and deeply committed to the daily care of his animals. The incident shocked the community of Sevastopol and quickly reached international news. Investigations revealed that a lapse in safety protocols had left the enclosure door unsecured, creating a fatal opening. Colleagues reported that he had always emphasized routine and caution, making the tragedy all the more devastating. The tiger involved was not considered unusually aggressive, but the attack demonstrated how instinct can override years of familiarity between keeper and animal. The aftermath of Melnikov's death ignited renewed debate over the ethics and risks of keeping apex predators in captivity. Experts argued that no matter how trained or accustomed to humans such animals might appear, their raw power and hunting instincts can never be fully subdued. His passing became another entry in a long line of reminders about the hazards faced by those who dedicate their lives to working closely with wild creatures. At 42, Alexei Melnikov's life ended in a place he knew intimately, among animals he had trusted and cared for daily. His story stands as a somber conclusion to the list of those whose lives were taken by creatures they admired, a testament to the fine line between devotion and danger when human ambition meets the untamed force of nature. They were actors, athletes, visionaries, and rising stars. Yet their final moments were written not by scripts or stadiums, but by the raw hand of nature. From stingrays and lions to wolves and tigers, these tragedies revealed how fragile even the brightest lives can be. Their stories remind us that fame offers no shield against fate's most unpredictable turns. Which of these shocking deaths stayed with you the most? And are there others you remember that belong on this list? Share your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to Tragic Hollywood, where memories and legends live on.